when I say you do. Do you understand?
Welcome to Black Box, and today we're excited to present the movie, The Girl in the Basement, 2021.
Dad.
Call me Dawn. I do something for you. Come over here. That's a good girl.
The film starts with a very intense scene where we see a man driving a car. In the backseat, we see a woman and a girl on her lap. The girl seems to be having difficulties breathing, and they're heading to the hospital. Sometime later, they finally arrive at the hospital, and while carrying the girl inside, the man wants the moment to keep her mouth shut and not to say a word. They get inside the hospital and ask for help. The nurses quickly take the girl for treatment while the woman watches from the window. The scene then changes. We're taken 20 years back into the past, and we see a family eating at a table. In the family are husband and wife, Dawn and Irene, and their two daughters, Amy and Sarah. Sarah says she's going to a campfire party, but Dawn doesn't allow her to go because she didn't ask him for permission, and he commands her to go to her room. Sarah is rebellious, and she sneaks out of the house. Her motorcycle-riding boyfriend, Chris, has come to pick her up. They share a kiss and then head to the party. They enjoy the party and spend some time with each other in the fields. Chris plays the guitar and sings a song for Sarah. Then he confesses his love for her, and she also says that she reciprocates the same. Meanwhile, back at home, Irene, unaware that Sarah is not in her room, tries to console her daughter from behind the door. But when an angry Dawn comes and opens her room with the keys, he finds out that Sarah has sneaked out through the window. Dawn seems extremely pissed at his daughter. In the next morning, Dawn is sitting at the front door, and when Sarah comes home, he notices Chris. Sarah tries to enter the house from the back door, but Dawn calmly asks her to come from the front. When she tries to enter, he angrily demands answers from her. Dawn asks her when he gave her permission to date someone, to which she replies that it's none of his business and tells him that the day she turns 18, she's going to leave and run away. After hearing that, he screams at her and reminds her that she will have to obey his rules as long as she lives in his house. Irene comes and stops the argument. Sarah quickly runs into her room. Sometime later, Amy comes to check on her, and they talk. Amy advises Sarah not to argue with Dawn. Sarah says he's crazy and that somebody has to stand up to him. While the girls are talking, their mother, Irene, also joins the conversation. Sarah reveals her plans to move out on her own when she becomes 18. She tells Amy and Irene that she will start from Florida and travel the world. As they speak, Dawn overhears the conversation. Upon hearing their conversation, he makes some evil plans. He starts by cleaning and preparing a bomb shelter in their basement, in which he intends to lock Sarah so she can't leave him. 3 months later, Sarah has now completed her graduation, and her 18th birthday is also very close. One day, Dawn is trimming some garden trees, and Sarah is speaking with Chris on the phone. Irene comes and asks Sarah about Dawn. Sarah tells her that he's in the garden. Irene says she's worried about him because lately, he has been spending too much time in the basement. She wants to know what he does down there, to which Sarah replies that she should go herself and check the place out. Irene tells her that Dawn says there are rats down there, and she hates rats. That's why she wouldn't go down there. Irene tells her that she is going shopping and invites Sarah to come with her, but Sarah denies it. She says she can't come with her because she is talking to her boyfriend, Chris. Irene leaves with her car, and now there are only Dawn and Sarah in the house. Dawn is about to do something that will change Sarah's life forever. He asks Sarah to help him move some stuff. Sarah hangs up the phone and goes to help him. They move a bucket inside the basement. He then locks her inside and leaves. Sarah is completely shocked by what her father just did. She tries to open the door with the keypad, but when she enters the wrong code, the lights go off and the place gets dark. She searches the bucket. It's full of clothes and other stuff. There's also a flashlight for her. She screams in the vent for help, but unfortunately, Dawn hears her and covers the vent up with some stuff and leaves. She is now literally trapped inside a bomb shelter, and it is also completely soundproof. Night falls, and Irene and Amy, who thought Sarah went to see a friend, have now started to become worried about her because she didn't come back and hasn't even called them yet. Irene wants to call the cops, but Dawn reassures her. He tells her that she'll be back in the morning and they should now go to sleep. Irene asks Amy to call Chris and leaves. Day 1 ends, with many more to come. Day 2. Sarah is living like a caged animal. She uses a pot to urinate. The keypad on the door has 3 tries before shutting down the room's lights and air circulation. Day 4. Sarah uses every moment to scream for help through the vent. When Dawn comes to check on her, she flanks him and tries to run outside, but she is stopped by another door. Dawn drags her inside the room and tells her that this is the consequence for her own actions and that she should have listened to him. Sarah begs him to let her out, but he says that is something he can't do. He tells her that she gets air, food, and clothes only if he wants, and she can also have blankets and books, but only if he says so. Everything she gets now, and every privilege she will have to earn from now on. Then he asks her if she understands or not. She doesn't reply anything in return. Don slaps her, and then rapes his own daughter. Back in the house, Irene has called the cops, and she tells the officer that Sarah wouldn't just leave like this and that something might have happened to her. Don comes and persuades the officer to think that she has run away from home. He also tells him about their plans to start from Florida and travel to 50 states when she becomes 18. Irene says that it was not her plan. It was just a dream. Plus, she hasn't had her birthday yet, and she wouldn't just leave like this without even saying goodbye to her. The officer tells her that Sarah soon will turn 18, and she has the right to go anywhere she pleases. He has seen these kinds of cases. There's not much they can do about it. It is day 7. Sarah is bruised and battered. To get herself through the trauma she's experiencing, she thinks about Chris and the night they spent together. We get to see a conversation. She tells him about her plans to leave when she turns 18. Chris tells her that he loves her and that wherever she goes, he will also join her. They both make a plan to travel the world on a motorcycle. Sarah wants a pink helmet, and Chris agrees. The scene changes, and ironically, Chris shows up with his motorcycle. He also brought the pink helmet, which he promised to Sarah. He questions Don about where Sarah is and asks if she has called them yet, but Don lies to him. He says that she ran off with another man named Stevie. He tells him that she always talked about leaving the house with Stevie. Upon hearing this, a heartbroken Chris leaves with the helmet he brought for Sarah. 21 days have passed, and today is Sarah's birthday. Don goes downstairs. He gives her a birthday cake and a red dress as a birthday gift and forces her to put it on. He asks her what she wants. Sarah says she wants to be released, to which he replies that it is too early. Then she asks for a TV, to which he says that she has to earn it. Then she asks for a clock, and he agrees to that. When she calls him Dad, he commands her to call him Don from now on. Then he asks her to come closer, and she probably gets raped again. Day 38. Sarah makes a plan to kill Don with a lid from a beef can. She makes a weapon from the can lid attached to some wood and waits for him to come down. When he comes down, she is wearing the same red dress. When he gets closer, she attacks him, but he easily avoids the attack, beats her, and probably rapes her again. Fast forward from day 38 to day 354. Sarah seems to be pregnant with her father's child. She uses a nursing book to prepare for the baby. Suddenly, she feels extreme pain and delivers her baby with no medical assistance or proper hygiene. She has given birth to a girl. She names the baby Murray. For years later, Sarah is pregnant again, and she is raising a daughter. Don has come to visit them. He has also provided them with some basic necessities such as a table, cupboards, mattress, etc. Sarah seems calmed down and talks with Don, even offering him tea. Don says he has gotten a promotion and tells her that he is going to have a new office. Murray calls him Dad and shows him a drawing he made. He seems happy. Sarah tells him that soon there are going to be 3 of them here and asks him whether he could release them, to which he responds angrily and goes upstairs for dinner. While having dinner, Irene argues with Don. She says she wants to hire a private investigator because Don never tried hard to find Sarah. He tells her that they have already spent more than $5,000 in Florida to search for her, and he is not going to spend any more money on her. He tells her to move on and focus on Amy. He screams, breaks some plates, and leaves. He later provides Sarah and Murray with a TV as a Christmas present. Sarah is very happy because she finally got a TV. Year 7. Sarah has given birth to a son named Michael, and they all are living in the basement. Murray seems to be sick and has difficulties breathing. Don provides some pills, but Sarah says they are not for kids and that she does not know what the dosage would be. She demands that Murray needs a doctor, but Don just leaves. The next day, Chris meets with Amy. He says he's still looking for Sarah and shares with Amy the lies he heard from Don about Sarah running away with Stevie. Amy admits that her father has been abusive with her mother and thinks that he did something to her sister. Later that day, she confronts Don and accuses him of doing something to Sarah. Irene still wants to go to a private investigator, which sets Don off. They argue, and Don drops his basement keys. Amy picks them up and snoops around the basement, only to be caught by an aggressive Don. Meanwhile, down in the basement, Sarah plays with her kids. Time passes, and Sarah gives birth to her 3rd baby, a boy. She names him Thomas. She tells Don that there is no room here for a 3rd child and convinces him to leave the baby for Irene to raise. Don agrees, and the next day, he puts the baby on the doorstep with a note from Sarah asking her to take care of her newborn baby. Irene bursts into tears when she finds the baby and the note. She takes the baby and goes inside, but she misses a smaller note that Sarah left asking her to call the police because she is trapped in the basement. Unfortunately, Don gets hold of the smaller note. He goes into the basement, takes out his rage on Sarah, and leaves. Year 14. Murray and Michael have grown up. Don now has his eyes on a teen, Murray. Sarah requests him to leave her alone and tells him that she's just a kid. The kids also have social anxiety problems from being locked in a basement bunker their whole lives. They do not understand how horrible the situation they are really in. 17 years have passed. It's raining outside. Irene has some bonding time with her grandson, Thomas. Sarah is pregnant again, and sometime later, they notice a leak in the ceiling and start digging their way out with a spoon. Sarah spends all night digging the hole, which leads to the front yard, and she flashes a light, signaling the neighbor for help. The neighbor notices the light. He goes to the front door and informs Don. Don says that everything is fine and sends the neighbor back. Then he goes downstairs and takes out his rage by brutally beating his pregnant daughter, causing her to miscarry. 18 years in captivity. Don fills Sarah in about her other son, Thomas, living just above them. He tells her that Thomas is getting big and strong day by day, and that he wants to play football next year in addition to baseball. Michael says he also wishes to play baseball. Don says it all depends on how their mother behaves and turns Murray and Michael against Sarah. Later that day, they demand to be let out, and Sarah can't take it. She freaks out and collapses on the floor, crying. She thinks of her boyfriend, Christopher, and the love he showed her. The kids realize their mistake and clean all the mess. When Sarah wakes up, she finally tells her children the truth about Don and that Irene is her mother and Don's wife, and she is his daughter. The kids understandably are overwhelmed. Murray is asthmatic and has trouble breathing due to the limited air supply in the basement. 19 years in captivity. Don comes down to the basement and has an argument with Sarah about rationing food. Michael gets angry and tries to beat up Don, but that only makes him angrier. He tells Michael that Thomas is younger than him, but he's bigger and stronger than him. Above ground, Don isn't doing so great either. He constantly fights with his wife. He's fired from his job, and his house is in foreclosure. He is tired of taking care of Sarah and the kids and tries to kill them when they're sleeping. He keeps his car on and funnels carbon monoxide into the basement's air vents with a hose. Thomas catches Don in the garage and wonders what his grandfather is doing. Don tells him he is just checking his car. After Thomas leaves, Don has a change of heart and doesn't kill them. He goes to the basement to check on them, and we see that they're okay and still sleeping. 20 years. Murray has an asthma attack so bad that she needs medical attention. Sarah begs Don to take them to the hospital, but he denies it. When she calls him Dad, he has a change of heart and agrees to take Murray to the hospital, but he only allows Sarah to come with him, and Michael stays in the basement. After 20 years, Sarah finally comes upstairs and has an emotional breakdown, but she quickly gets a hold of herself and then dresses Murray to go to the ER. It is the same scene we saw at the start of the film. The doctors are able to save Murray. A concerned doctor asks about Murray's medical history and also gives Don a form to fill out. Sarah asks Don to go to a bathroom, but Don refuses to let her go. She spills water on Don's paperwork and makes her way to get help while he gets a new form. Sarah tells the doctor everything. Don is arrested and put away for life. Michael is also rescued from the basement. Irene is horrified to learn the truth about what happened to her daughter at her husband's hand in her own house. The family all moves together. Chris also shows up and gives Sarah the pink helmet, which he promised her and was holding on to for all those years. They talk about their teenage plans for the future. Chris apologizes for not trying harder to find Sarah, and then they go for a ride together. And the movie ends. Make sure to subscribe and turn on notifications so you can watch more videos like this. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.